The new intern at the hospital was a classic case of weaponized incompetence, disguised as a cute klutz. My mother came in for a simple prescription, but this girl swapped her herbal supplements for a dangerous, concentrated leech extract. Mom had just finished surgery, and the internal bleeding from that mistake killed her that same night. Before I could even hold her accountable, Gigi Lane looked at me with those watery, doe-eyed eyes. "Dr. Miller, I'm so sorry. I just thought leeches sounded more natural and healing." My husband, the chief of medicine, even took her side. "Your mother was old and weak. She probably just reacted badly to her own meds. Are you really trying to frame Gigi for this?" The shock and rage triggered my own heart condition, and I was rushed into the OR. Gigi insisted on assisting my husband to make up for her mistake. Her hands shook so much she couldn't even thread the needle. She eventually pulled down her mask and used her own saliva to wet the thread. A day later, I died in the ICU from a massive systemic infection. In my final moments, I heard her sobbing softly by my bed. If only I wasn't so clumsy, Dr. Miller wouldn't have had to die. My husband just rubbed her head affectionately. "Medical risks happen, Gigi. You're just a kid learning the ropes. Don't beat yourself up." Because he covered everything up, my mother and I were both cremated in a hurry. But then I opened my eyes and realized I was back to the day Gigi first joined the hospital. Remembering what was about to happen, I rushed to the pharmacy counter. Just as Gigi was about to hand that bag of leech extract to my mother, I barked out a command. "Gigi Lane, I'm pretty sure your rotation today isn't in the pharmacy." Gigi flinched when she saw me, a flicker of guilt crossing her face. "Dr. Miller, I just saw how busy they were and wanted to help. Is it a crime to be helpful?" I grabbed the bag, inspected it, and slammed it down in front of her. "Why didn't you follow the electronic prescription? Do you have any idea what happens when you hand out the wrong meds?" She blinked innocently, using the exact same line from my past life. "I was just trying to do something good. Leech extract is known for its natural healing properties." I let out a cold, sharp laugh and ignored her. I turned to the pharmacist on duty. "My mother just had surgery. If she had taken this today, the legal consequences would have fallen on you. Do you understand?" The pharmacist's face went pale as he realized the liability. He started apologizing immediately. "I'm sorry, Dr. Miller. It won't happen again. I won't let unauthorized interns touch the orders." Gigi's eyes instantly filled with tears. "I was just trying to help you. And now you're siding with her to bully me? We interns work the longest hours for the least pay. Is this just how you treat newcomers? Workplace harassment." A small crowd began to gather, and she started crying even harder. Right on cue, Marcus Thorne, my husband and the chief, walked down the stairs. Seeing the scene, he frowned and looked at me with judging eyes. "Audrey, what could possibly justify you humiliating a young girl in public?" My mother, seeing Marcus, tried to explain. "Marcus, dear, she gave me the wrong medication. You know I can't take risks with my heart right now. It was just a small mistake, Audrey. There's no need to hunt her down for it." Marcus's voice was cold and lacked any respect for my mother. Gigi took the opportunity to bow repeatedly, her voice trembling. "It's all my fault. Please don't be mad, Dr. Miller. I'll do anything to make it up to you." The bystanders started whispering, their sympathies shifting to the crying girl. "I saw those posts about doctors bullying interns. I guess they're true. That poor girl is heartbroken. She should just let it go." Exactly. If she really did something wrong, would the chief be defending her? I didn't get angry. Instead, I smiled. "Fine, Marcus. From now on, she's your personal responsibility. Anything she does falls on your head." Marcus didn't hesitate. "Fine. But you owe her an apology for how you treated her today." I rolled my eyes and walked away without giving them another second of my time. After putting my mom in an Uber, I headed back to my office. Gigi, however, followed me like a lost puppy, acting all virtuous. "Dr. Miller, it's okay if you don't apologize. I'm the type of person who lets things slide." "But Marcus, he's been so protective of me lately. I'd hate for our closeness to affect your marriage." I glanced at her briefly. "If you have so much free time, go find something useful to do." Gigi bit her lip and actually left. But 10 minutes later, a scream echoed from the operating suite next door. I remembered the accidents from my previous life and felt a headache coming on. But Gigi shouldn't have been in the OR today. What could she have possibly messed up? The scream came from Dr. Lewis, a senior surgeon. When I arrived, Dr. Lewis was pointing a shaking finger at Gigi. "Who told you to use alcohol wipes on the robotic arms? And you tried to force them manually. Do you have any idea that this Da Vinci robot costs over $20 million? Gigi's eyes turned red instantly. Tears began to stream down her face. She hid behind Marcus, who had just arrived, grabbing the sleeve of his white coat. "Chief, I didn't mean to. I just wanted to help disinfect. And it looked like stainless steel. I thought it was sturdy." Marcus looked at the mangled robotic arm, and his face initially went pale. But when he looked down at Gigi's watery eyes, his tone softened immediately. "It's all right. Stop crying. It's just a machine. As long as you weren't hurt, that's what matters. He turned to Dr. Lewis. His voice broke no argument. You're in charge of your equipment. Since she was under your watch, you're liable for the damage. The repair costs will be deducted from your annual bonus and project grants. Dr. Lewis was stunned by the sheer unfairness. Gigi continued to sob. I'm so sorry. Dr. Miller told me to find something to do. I didn't mean to get Dr. Lewis in trouble. I'll help pay for it once I get my paycheck. Marcus sighed and looked at her like she was a saint. You have such a good heart, Gigi. But don't worry, the hospital has insurance for this. You shouldn't carry that burden. Gigi didn't have a burden at all. Poor Dr. Lewis was the one being sacrificed. The repair for that arm would cost at least $50,000 after insurance. Marcus had always been a stickler for rules. Years ago, I dropped a pair of forceps and he scolded me in front of the whole department and cut my bonus. But now he dismissed a massive loss because Gigi looked cute while doing it. Gigi then had the nerve to speak up again. Actually, I think this is Dr. Miller's fault. If she hadn't barked orders at me to stay busy, this wouldn't have happened. I let out a cold snort. Gigi, did I tell you to come into the OR and break things? You have zero common sense and your first instinct is to blame others. How did you even pass your boards? Before I could finish, a loud smack rang out. Marcus had swung his hand and slapped me across the face. The force was so strong my head snapped to the side. My ears were ringing, and I could taste blood in my mouth. Watch your mouth. Gigi is an intern. She can be coached. But you as a senior doctor are being cruel and shifting blame. Is this your version of professional ethics? Gigi cowered behind him, her face pale as if she was the one who had been hit. She cried even harder, acting like the ultimate victim. Chief, please don't fight with her because of me. It's all my fault. I should just leave. I held my burning cheek and spoke calmly. Fine. I'll pay for Dr. Lewis's bonus deduction. But Marcus, I want a divorce. To my surprise, Marcus pulled a set of divorce papers out of his pocket. He was already prepared. I was just about to suggest that. Before I met Gigi, I thought all marriages were just routine. But since she came into my life, I've realized what true love feels like. Marcus and I had been together since med school. We had been married for 7 years, and now he was talking about true love with a girl he barely knew? I looked at the terms. I was essentially walking away with nothing, and I signed them without a word. Dr. Lewis whispered to me afterward. Audrey, you're giving up way too much. Don't let him take everything. I just smiled thinly. We'll see who really loses in the end. Marcus used my year-end bonus to cover Dr. Lewis's costs, making himself look like the hero. After that incident, everyone in the hospital treated Gigi like a walking plague. I thought she would lay low, but the next day, the head of radiology came storming into my office. Dr. Miller, what is going on with your department? Who authorized this? A full-body CT scan for a patient with a sprained ankle? This is insane. The patient is already complaining online. The hospital's reputation is being dragged through the mud. I looked at the order. Someone had ordered 24 different CT scans for one patient. The digital signature at the bottom was mine. I opened social media and saw the headline. #greedy doctor orders overpriced tests. It was the top trending story. The comments were brutal. Doctors these days don't know how to treat people. They just want to drain your bank account. This doctor must be desperate for money. These tests cost thousands. Her name is Audrey Miller. She graduated from Crestview Med. Here's her ID number. I didn't even have to guess who did it. I went straight to Marcus's office. Marcus, you helped her steal my digital signature. That is a massive HIPAA violation and a crime. This is destroying my reputation and the hospital's. Gigi was already there, her eyes red like a rabbit's, twisting the hem of her coat. I just wanted to help Dr. Miller with her workload. She seemed so busy. The patient said they felt pain everywhere, so I wanted to be thorough. I didn't know it would go viral. Marcus rubbed his temples. He looked tired, but he still chose to protect her. Audrey, Gigi just logged into your account to learn. She had good intentions. It's not like the patient actually got hurt. I didn't argue. I just pulled out my phone. If I don't get a public apology and a full retraction, I'm calling the police and reporting a data breach. Marcus jumped up to stop me. Enough with the threats. I'll use the hospital's official account to clear your name. But honestly, you have zero team spirit. I don't think you're fit to be a department head anymore. I reached into my bag and placed my resignation letter on his desk. Trying to blackmail me with a resignation? I'm not finished. I'm just saying you need to give Gigi more opportunities to grow. I smiled. Oh, I'll make sure she gets plenty of opportunities. After Marcus cleared my name on the official page, he started freezing me out of important cases. He wouldn't sign my resignation, instead forcing me to do all the grunt work. Gigi, empowered by her new opportunities, became a disaster. She failed to find a vein after 8 attempts on a single patient. She copy-pasted medical records, writing that an 80-year-old woman had a basketball injury, and a 70-year-old man had menstrual cramps. After dozens of complaints, even Marcus suggested moving Gigi to a desk job. But Gigi refused, her voice trembling with fake determination. "Chief, I know I'm clumsy and I cause trouble, but I really want to be a great nurse. This is my dream." Then she posted on her social media. "Another day of being a little troublemaker for my colleagues. Sometimes I feel like I'm just a kid pretending to be a grown-up. But my boss is so supportive. He says my innocence is a rare treasure fighting." A few days later, a VIP patient was admitted to cardiology, Mr. Sterling, a former high-ranking official. He was old but stable, just in for routine observation. Marcus assigned Gigi to shadow the case, claiming she needed clinical exposure. That afternoon, a high-pitched alarm echoed through the ward, followed by Gigi's scream. "Mr. Sterling! Mr. Sterling, what's happening?" I was in the next room checking on my mother. I ran over immediately. Mr. Sterling's face was blue. His heart had stopped. Gigi was collapsed on the floor, doing nothing but screaming. I pushed her aside and started CPR, shouting at her. "What happened? He was stable 5 minutes ago." Gigi just sobbed and couldn't give me a single word. The nurse on duty finally spoke up. Gigi said the chief told her to give Mr. Sterling his heart vitamins through the 4. Then he just collapsed. I looked at the empty vial on the tray. That wasn't vitamins. It was a highly concentrated dose of potassium chloride meant for a patient with severe deficiency in another room. Injecting concentrated potassium chloride directly into a vein is essentially a lethal injection. I screamed at her. "Who told you to touch this medication? This wasn't even in his bin." Gigi stammered through her tears. "The chief said Mr. Sterling needed potassium. This says potassium chloride." I thought it was the same thing. I was shaking with rage. Needing a supplement and injecting a concentrated poison are not the same thing. Do you think human lives are a joke? Despite our best efforts, we couldn't bring him back. Mr. Sterling's son, Ethan Sterling, a local real estate mogul, arrived at the hospital minutes later. When he heard his father was gone, he went berserk. He grabbed Marcus by the collar. "Chief Thorne, my father was fine this morning. How is he dead now? I want answers." Marcus immediately pulled Gigi into his arms, shielding her. He looked at me with a sharp, accusatory gaze. "Dr. Miller gave the wrong order and failed to double-check the medication. This is a case of extreme medical malpractice. We will handle this internally and make sure justice is served for your father." Gigi took the cue and nodded, pointing a trembling finger at me. "It's true. Dr. Miller told me to get that vial. She said it was the right one. I was too stupid to double-check her. It's all my fault for trusting her. I'm so sorry." Ethan Sterling turned his murderous gaze toward me. "So you're the expert who killed my father? I'll make sure you rot in a cell for the rest of your life." Ethan called the police. Within minutes, several squad cars were parked outside. As the officers approached to take me in for questioning, I looked at Gigi and Marcus with nothing but pity. The cold metal of the handcuffs clicked against my wrists, heavy and unyielding. Marcus stood by Ethan Sterling's side, his chin held high, wearing the solemn, righteous mask of a chief of medicine sacrificing an errant subordinate for the sake of justice. Beside him, Gigi cowered, her doe eyes brimming with tears, clutching the sleeve of his white coat like a frightened child. "I am so sorry, Mr. Sterling," Marcus said, his voice deep with manufactured grief. "Dr. Miller has been under immense personal stress lately. Her behavior has been erratic. We tried to guide her, but we never imagined she would let her negligence escalate to homicide." Ethan Sterling didn't say a word. His face was a mask of pale granite, his jaw clenched so tight the muscle twitched beneath his skin. He stared at me as the 2 police officers escorted me down the pristine, white hallway of the VIP wing. Passing nurses lowered their heads. Patients peered out of their rooms, whispering. Gigi let out a tiny, pitiful sob, loud enough for the officers to hear. "Officer, please go easy on her. Dr. Miller is a good person. She just made a mistake. It's my fault for trusting her." One of the officers cast a disgusted look at me and shook his head. "To kill a man like Mr. Sterling because of laziness, some people don't deserve the coat." I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply walked with my head held high, my eyes catching the reflection of the hallway's overhead security dome as we passed beneath it. At the station, I was placed in a small interrogation room with peeling beige paint and a metal table. A young detective named Miller sat across from me, flipping through the initial incident report filed by Chief Marcus Thorne. "Dr. Audrey Miller," Detective Miller began, tapping his pen. "According to Chief Thorne, you verbally instructed intern Gigi Lane to administer a concentrated 4 dose of potassium chloride to Mr. Sterling without a written order, leading to his immediate cardiac arrest. Do you deny this?" I looked at the detective, my voice smooth and level. "Detective, I haven't verbally instructed Gigi Lane to do anything since 8 a.m. This morning. In fact, if you check my mother's room, room 312, you will find my digital entry log and my mother's blood pressure charts. At the exact moment Mr. Sterling suffered cardiac arrest, I was sitting at my mother's bedside 30 feet down the hall. The detective paused, his pen hovering over the paper. Gigi Lane stated under oath that you handed her the vial personally in the hallway. I smiled thinly. Then Gigi Lane lied. And if you check the hospital's automated pharmacy dispensing system, you will find something even more interesting. What's that? Potassium chloride is a Class A high-alert medication. It is kept in a biometric Pyxis supply cabinet in the central supply room. To withdraw it, you must scan a registered employee badge and input a thumbprint. I leaned forward, resting my cuffed hands on the metal table. My badge was inside my coat pocket in room 312. My thumbprint was nowhere near that cabinet. Ask Chief Thorne whose badge unlocked that cabinet at 2:15 p.m. today. The detective stared at me for 3 long seconds. He didn't write anything down. He slowly stood up, pulled out his radio, and spoke into it. Get the digital forensics team to Crestview Memorial. I want the Pyxis cabinet. Access logs for the cardiology floor for the last 4 hours. Right now. While I sat in the interrogation room, Marcus was having the afternoon of his life. In the hospital's main conference hall, he held an emergency press briefing. He stood behind a wooden podium, flanked by the hospital board members, looking solemn and broken. It is with a heavy heart that I announce the suspension and arrest of Dr. Audrey Miller, Marcus announced into a sea of flashing camera lenses. Crestview Memorial has always upheld the highest standards of patient care. What occurred today was an isolated act of tragic, gross negligence by a senior surgeon whose personal life had sadly compromised her professional ethics. In the front row, Gigi sat wearing a black blazer that was slightly too big for her, making her look small and defenseless. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, sniffling softly whenever a camera turned toward her. A reporter raised her hand. Chief Thorne, is it true that intern Gigi Lane tried to stop Dr. Miller from administering the wrong dosage? Marcus looked down at Gigi with an expression of profound tenderness. Yes, Marcus lied smoothly. Intern Lane raised concerns, but as a junior trainee, she was intimidated and overruled by Dr. Miller. Gigi is currently suffering from severe emotional trauma due to this incident. She is a dedicated, innocent young woman who tried her best to save a patient. The reporters scribbled frantically. The narrative was set, a jealous, bitter senior female doctor falling from grace, and a brave, cute intern caught in the crossfire. Suddenly, the heavy double doors at the back of the conference hall slammed open. Ethan Sterling walked in. Behind him were 4 men in sharp charcoal suits, accompanied by Detective Miller and 3 armed police officers. The flashbulbs went crazy. Marcus smiled inwardly, adjusting his tie, preparing to offer Ethan his condolences on live television. Mr. Sterling, Marcus said, stepping out from behind the podium with an outstretched hand, his voice thick with sympathy. I know words cannot ease your pain, but I assure you Crestview Memorial will fully cooperate with your legal team to ensure Dr. Miller receives the maximum penalty under the law. Ethan didn't take his hand. He didn't even look at Marcus's face. He walked up to the podium, snatched the microphone from the stand and looked directly into the news cameras. 10 minutes ago. Ethan's voice resonated through the speakers, cold and cutting. The State Medical Board and the Police Forensics Unit completed an emergency audit of the central pharmacy logs at Crestview Memorial. The room went dead silent. Marcus's hand froze in midair. Ethan pulled a sheet of paper from his coat pocket. At 2:14 p.m. today, the Pyxis cabinet containing concentrated potassium chloride was unlocked. It was not unlocked by Dr. Audrey Miller. Ethan turned his icy, murderous gaze directly toward Gigi Lane. It was unlocked using badge number 8841, belonging to intern Gigi Lane, authorized via a secondary override pin issued by Chief of Medicine, Marcus Thorne. Gigi's tissue dropped from her fingers. The color drained from her face so fast. She looked like a ghost. And no. Gigi stammered, her voice shaking violently as she shrank into her seat. That's a mistake. I didn't. Chief, tell them. You told me it was vitamins. The reporters gasped. Flashes went off like a lightning storm, targeting Gigi's pale, terrified face. Marcus's jaw dropped. Wait, Mr. Sterling. That override pin was for a different procedure. Gigi must have used my terminal while I wasn't looking. She's just a confused intern, she doesn't know. Shut up, Ethan snapped, his voice dropping into a register of pure lethal authority. He turned to Detective Miller. Furthermore, the hallway security footage shows Dr. Audrey Miller was inside room 312 from 1:45 p.m. until the alarm sounded. She never touched the patient prior to his cardiac arrest. She was the one who attempted CPR when she heard the scream. Ethan looked at Marcus with utter disgust. Chief Thorne, you didn't just allow an incompetent intern to murder my father with a lethal injection. You actively attempted to frame an innocent senior surgeon to cover up your illicit relationship with a trainee. Detective Miller stepped forward, pulling out 2 pairs of handcuffs. Marcus Thorne, Gigi Lane, you are under arrest for medical manslaughter, destruction of evidence, perjury, and framing an innocent person. You have the right to remain silent. An hour later, I was released from the interrogation room. My handcuffs were removed and Detective Miller personally handed me a cup of warm tea, apologizing profusely for the arrest. I stepped out into the station lobby. Ethan Sterling was standing by the window, staring out at the rain. When he saw me, he walked over and bowed his head slightly. Dr. Miller, Ethan said, his voice heavy with grief and guilt. I owe you a profound apology. I let my anger blind me, and I allowed those 2 monsters to use my father's death as a weapon against you. You were grieving, Mr. Sterling, I said gently. And Marcus is an expert at manipulating narratives. But I am deeply sorry for your loss. Your father deserves so much better. He will get justice, Ethan said, his eyes hardening into flint. My family's legal team is taking over the prosecution. Neither of them will ever step foot outside a prison for a very long time. Through the one-way mirror of the adjacent interrogation room, I watched Gigi's interview. Without Marcus standing in front of her to take the blows, without the hospital staff around to coo over her tears, Gigi was a pathetic, squirming wreck. She sat on the metal chair, her fake innocent mask completely shattered. I didn't mean to. Gigi sobbed hysterically, banging her fists on the table. I'm just an intern. I'm only 22. I don't know the difference between potassium chloride and vitamins. The labels look so similar. Why is everyone picking on me? The female detective sitting across from her didn't buy a single word. She slammed a thick folder onto the desk. Mississippi Lane, you graduated from Crestview Medical School with a B+ average. Pharmacology is a required second-year course. A high school student knows that. Potassium chloride is a lethal injection compound. I forgot. Gigi wailed, pulling at her hair. I get confused when I'm stressed. Dr. Miller was bullying me. She made me nervous. Dr. Miller wasn't even on the same floor, the detective said coldly. And what about the Da Vinci robotic arm you broke last week? You blamed Dr. Lewis. What about the 24 CT scans you ordered using Dr. Miller's stolen digital signature? Gigi froze. That was an accident too. I just wanted to learn. No, the detective leaned over the table, her eyes piercing. It wasn't an accident. You use weaponized incompetence. You perform outrageous, illegal, and dangerous acts, and then you cry and pretend to be a cute, helpless girl so men in power will protect you and take the fall for you. Gigi's breath hitched. For the first time, her watery eyes didn't hold tears of sorrow, they held raw, ugly panic. In the next room, Marcus was singing a completely different tune. When faced with 20 years in federal prison for manslaughter and corporate cover-ups, Marcus's true love for Gigi evaporated into thin air. She tricked me. Marcus screamed at his lawyer, his face red and veins bulging on his neck. She seduced me. She logged into my computer when I was in the restroom. She took my badge. I didn't know she was going to inject Mr. Sterling. She's a psychopath. She's a fake. The detectives recorded every single word. The 2 lovers, who just hours ago were talking about true love and rare treasures, were now tearing each other apart like rabid dogs, throwing each other into the fire to save their own skins. Over the next 2 weeks, Crestview Memorial Hospital underwent a total purge. The hospital board, terrified of Ethan Sterling's multi-million-dollar lawsuit and the massive media backlash, launched a comprehensive internal audit. The findings were horrifying. 1. The Da Vinci robotic arm. Forensic evidence proved Gigi manually forced the joints beyond their limit out of boredom, and Marcus illegally docked Dr. Lewis's bonus to cover it up. The board reinstated Dr. Lewis's funds, issued a public apology, and promoted him to vice head of surgery. 2. The cyber violation. IT records confirmed Gigi had logged into my terminal, using a saved password Marcus had given her, intentionally ordering 24 unnecessary CT scans to frame me for greed. 3. The historical malpractice. Audit teams uncovered 5 other instances where Gigi had messed up patient charts, and Marcus had quietly altered the electronic health records to blame senior nurses and junior residents. On a chilly Tuesday morning, I walked into the hospital's main auditorium for the General Assembly. I was no longer just a senior surgeon. The board had unanimously voted to appoint me as the new chief of surgery and acting head of medicine, replacing Marcus Thorne. When I stepped up to the podium, the entire medical staff stood up and applauded. Dr. Lewis was in the front row, wiping tears from his eyes. The pharmacists who had been intimidated by Marcus cheered loudly. My mother sat in the VIP row, fully recovered from her surgery, looking at me with radiant pride. In my opening speech, I didn't talk about prestige or medical honors. I looked at the sea of young interns and residents sitting in the back rows. Medicine is not a stage for your personal drama, I said, my voice echoing clearly through the hall. It is not a place to play the victim, to act cute or to pretend that ignorance is a charm. In this building, a mistake is not a cute story. It is a human life. Weaponized incompetence will no longer be tolerated. If you cannot take responsibility for your work, turn in your coat today. The applause that followed shook the glass ceiling. 6 months later, the state criminal court delivered its final sentencing in the case of State v. Marcus Thorne and Gigi Lane. The trial had dominated headlines for months. Gigi's legal team tried to use a mental incompetence and workplace pressure defense, but the prosecution, backed by Ethan Sterling's elite legal team, pulled apart every single lie. They presented Gigi's social media posts. Another day of being a little troublemaker. My boss says my innocence is a rare treasure. The prosecutor played the post in front of the jury, alongside the autopsy photos of Mr. Sterling. The contrast between her cutesy, narcissistic online persona and the dead body of a respected elder devastated the defense. The verdict was swift. Gigi Lane, guilty of depraved indifference manslaughter, unauthorized practice of medicine, and criminal defamation. Sentenced to 18 years in state penitentiary without parole. Marcus Thorne, guilty of accomplice to manslaughter, obstruction of justice, malicious prosecution, and gross medical corruption. Sentenced to 12 years in state penitentiary, with his medical license permanently revoked. Nationwide. On the day they were taken to the state facility, I visited the holding area one. Last time, Marcus sat behind the glass partition. In just 6 months, he had aged 20 years. His hair was gray, his skin sallow, his hands shaking, not from infatuation, but from pure, unadulterated ruin. His medical career was dead. His reputation was ashes. His wealth was gone, swallowed by legal fees and civil damages paid to the Sterling family. When he saw me through the glass, he grabbed the telephone with trembling hands. I picked up the receiver on my side. Audrey, Marcus sobbed, tears streaming down his hollow cheeks. Audrey, please. I was wrong. I was blind. She tricked me. She acted so innocent. I thought she needed me. I never stopped loving you, Audrey. Please use your influence with the board. Help me get a pardon. I looked at him through the thick bulletproof glass. I remembered my previous life. I remembered dying in the ICU, suffocating on my own blood from a systemic infection caused by Gigi's spit-soaked thread. I remembered Marcus standing over my bed, rubbing Gigi's head, telling her, "You're just a kid learning the ropes. Don't beat yourself up." "Marcus," I said, my voice as calm and peaceful as a quiet morning. "Do you know what you told me on the day you gave me those divorce papers?" Marcus blinked through his tears, confused. "You told me that since Gigi came into your life, you realized what true love felt like." I smiled softly, a genuine, radiant smile. "I hope you and Gigi enjoy your true love. You'll both have plenty of time to think about it over the next 18 years. Audrey. No. Audrey, wait. Don't leave me." Marcus screamed, banging his fists against the glass as the guards dragged him away. I set the receiver down smoothly. I turned around and walked out of the police station, stepping into the bright, warm afternoon sunlight. My mother was waiting by my car, holding 2 cups of fresh coffee. The sky was a brilliant, cloudless blue. I took a deep breath of the cool, clean air. In my past life, I died in silence, buried under a mountain of lies. In this life I stood in the light, a doctor, a daughter, and a survivor, unbroken, untamed, and completely free.